Dear students, welcome to our class on JRF, SRF, NET 2022, Core Group NRM 1, First Class. Core Group Natural Resource Management 1. So, Natural Resource Management Core Group 1 in that first class. Okay. Now, in this class, we try to understand among the core group 1 of core group natural resource management 1, the most common with memory type, okay, not calculated type questions we try as classes goes on, so some calculations of say for example plant population, say calculation of see zero plane displacement, some reference parameter, these things, calculations by taking some assuming some value. So in the advanced classes we try to understand. In this first classes, this is the first class, 1 or 2, 3 classes, we try to understand the basics. Okay. Now, so the first bit for today's class is that the host plant of Striga. Striga is a parasite. Okay. It attacks many crops. Okay, it is a parasite. It depends upon the mother plant, which is a crop for the farmers. Okay, so it depends upon the options given there. If option is given for sorghum, okay, you can say it. If it is option is given sugarcane, you can go for it. But okay, to eliminate our wheat, rice, okay, tomato or tobacco, or on tobacco it is Agrometeorology. Okay, so that's why please remember that the host plant for Striga is depending upon the choices. First, if choice is given sorghum, you put it. If sugarcane is given, you put it. That is the answer. Now the second bit of today's class is that the suitable mechanical measure. See, in agriculture engineering, okay, or you can say agronomy, or you can say agriculture physics, bits are slightly overlapping. That's why. Now, the suitable mechanical measure in areas having mild slope cultivated lands with high rainfall. High rainfall means, but it all depends upon the area. High rainfall, okay, we cannot say. For in general, high rainfall means we usually take anywhere between 750 to 850 mm per annum. Okay. Plain air, it is a slightly slope area with high rainfall of around 750 to 850 mm and relatively impermeable. That means, the soil has a little capacity to store the water or to infiltrate, particularly clay soils, relatively low impermeable clay soil. Conditions are 3. Number 1, it is a slightly slopy land, rainfall around high rainfall, and it is a clay soil. Then, so what is the suitable mechanical measure for conservation of rainwater? Okay, what is the suitable mechanism? Is graded bunding. The answer is graded bunding. Now, the third question. A researcher wants to lay out an experiment with 4 irrigation levels and 3 fertilizer doses. 4 irrigation levels, 3 fertilizer doses. And another condition is, suitable, you have to suggest, the question will be suggest a suitable statistical design, whether it is RBD or a factorial, or you can say split plot or split plot or anything, depending upon the options given. The question is like this. 4 irrigation treatments, minimum 3 fertilizer levels you wanted to go. Then in that case, what is the recommended statistical design at the field level, field experiment? The best design for such situation of 4 irrigation treatment and minimum 3 fertilizer levels. You wanted to see the sorghum crop, or you wanted to give it different irrigation levels. Okay, methods of irrigation, or paddy in case of paddy. So you go for main plots for irrigation. The answer is split plot design with main plots of irrigation levels. Once again, I would like to say 4 irrigation levels, minimum 3 fertilizer levels for a crop. You wanted to go for so split plot design is the best one. Now, capillary water is held by the forces of. See, in the soil, there are so many forces. Okay, soil air is there, soil water is there. There are different forces through which all the fluids and liquids they are held together by the soil particles. Now the question is, capillary water is held by the forces of surface tension. Capillary water is held by surface tension. That's why when we go for soil mulching, capillary continuity is broken. When we go for soil mulching, this bit also may come. The capillary continuity of water is broken because the water is held by surface tension forces. It is easy to break the surface tension forces as compared to other forces. Now, the phenomenon of heat evolution when dry soil is placed in water, when dry water is placed in soil, what is the phenomenon we call it? First, I tell you the answer. This is the heat of wetting. It's what the answer is, heat of wetting. Now, there is one word called as a thixotrophy. 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 What is it? Some gels are there. Some gels, when we stir them, they become dilute. Okay. So, thixotrophy won't work here. The answer is heat wetting. When soil is added to the water, so warm soil added to the relatively cold water. So, heat wetting we call it as. The answer is heat wetting. The destructive form of precipitation. Among 4 options are given there. The destructive forms of precipitation. What is meant by precipitation? Precipitation is the process of atmospheric water vapor or atmospheric moisture reaching the ground. It should reach the ground surface. So, precipitations are liquid forms, rain, drizzle, shower. Solid forms, snow, hail. Mixed forms, glaze, sleet. Glaze, sleet. Now, let us see. Most destructive form, rain is not, shower is not, drizzle is not. Mixed forms, let us see. Sleet and glaze, they are not destructive. So, solid forms are very destructive. What are the 2 solid forms? Snow and hail. So, snow won't damage much unless otherwise when wind force is there. Snow continuously falls for a couple of days or 3 days. Small damage to the twigs, newly born branches, twigs, they may die. What is the most destructive form of precipitation? Is hail. The answer is hail. Now, next question. In case of fog, the visibility is reduced to. See, fog is one of the forms of condensation, not precipitation. Dew, fog, smog, like that, So, rime, all these things are there. Now, the fog, the basic characteristic of fog in meteorology is visibility. So, if visibility is reduced to less than 1 kilometer, then we call it as the fog. In fog, the visibility is reduced to less than 1 kilometer. Now, see the greenhouse gas, which is exclusively of industrial origin. Here also again different options are there. Exclusively of industrial origin, so many are there. Carbofluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, sometimes methane, water, everything, depending upon it. But the most common, depending upon the options given, the most common greenhouse gas which is exclusively of industrial origin is CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons we call them. Now the answer is chlorofluorocarbons. The spacing of a crop, if a spacing of a crop is 15 to 10 centimeters, 50 between the rows, 20 in between the rows, in between the plants in a row. In between the rows, 50. Within the row, 20 centimeters. So, how many plants are there per hectare? A hectare has 10,000 square meters. So, 50 into 20 centimeters is 1 square meter. So, 10,000 square meters by 1 is equal 10,000 plants. So, if spacing is 50 into 20, the meaning of 50 into 20 is between the rows 50 centimeters, within the row, in the row itself, 20 centimeters between the plants. That's what. So 10,000 is the answer. Now, Indian Standard Time is calculated based on Delhi, Allahabad, Hyderabad, some Vizag, something like that. Allahabad. We take Allahabad as the basis for calculation of Indian Standard Time. So, to the eastern side. Okay, we add to the western side. We deduct. Okay, negative. That's what. Now, next important bit is the average annual rainfall of Earth globe. Annual rainfall of globe. Please listen. Please listen. Please listen very carefully. Usually, global level answer is 1000 mm. But as far as our textbooks in Indian countries are given, we give anywhere between 1000, 1025, 1050. So if the option is given 1000, best. If it is given 1050, you go for 1050. But never and never go for 1200. 1200 is the average rainfall over India. Average rainfall or precipitation. Precipitation means, snow and rain. Sometimes glaze, sometimes sleet also. Okay, right. Now, so adjustment of individual. This is a very interesting adjustment of individuals to their environment by means of a special structure. Adjustment of individuals to their environment by means of special structure they develop or function. They do some function is called. What is it called? Okay, they get adjusted, adapted to the environment. Adverse conditions, climate change is that. So they get adapted to with a structure. Then what are they called as? Okay, that process we call it as the adaptation. Adaptation. So mitigation, adaptation. The final one is mitigation. Adaptation. Final one is avoid. We just try to avoid it. So if a structure is developed by an individual or a plant to adapt to a harsh climate, that's what we call it as the process. We call it as the adaptation. Mitigation means lessening. Avoidance means we try to just avoid it. Go for different windows of sowing. So we avoid that hardship to the crops. That's what. Now, so in NRM 1, some questions on general plant breeding also would come. 1 or 2, 3 bits. A chromosomal abnormality. A chromosomal abnormality where a homogeneous pair of chromosomes are lacking from the normal diploid is called. It is called as nullisomy. 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 It's not monosomy, it's not trisomy, it's not nullisomy. Now, what is the nullisomy? A chromosomal abnormality where a homogeneous pair of chromosomes are lacking from the normal diploid. Now, in an irrigated field, crops lose their water through. This is an interesting question. In an irrigated field, paddy is there. How the water is lost? Sugarcane, how water is lost? Corn, that is the maize. How the water is lost? Generally, water is lost through percolation, seepage. Seepage means, from the field, from our field to the next person's field. Okay, percolation means, from our field, go into the soil. Evapotranspiration. So, most of the crops lose their crops, okay, through evapotranspiration. The answer depends upon the multiple choice answers are given. Most of the crops lose their water through evapotranspiration, evaporation from the soil, transpiration from the plant, irrigated conditions. Okay, right. Now, so let us go to another very interesting thing in the NRM. Some forestry questions are expected to come. The National Forest Policy was introduced. National Forest Policy was introduced in India year 1988, 1988. Geographical area should be under the forest tree crop. Geographical area under forest and tree crop should be 33% of the total geographical area should be covered by trees and forests. Okay, now, okay, or tree cover. Okay, now. National Agriculture Policy was introduced in which year? National Agricultural Policy, NAP, in the year 2000. When is the National Forest Policy? In the year 1988. National Agriculture Policy, 2000, in the year 2000. Now, so the forest area in the hilly areas at present in India is that 39%. What it should be? It should be 66%. So 2/3 should be under the forest in the hilly areas, whereas we have only 39%. 2/3 means 66%. International Center for Research in Agroforestry or World Agroforestry Research Institute, that is located in Kenya. It is in Nairobi, Kenya. It was established in the year 1988, like National Forest Policy. And in Jhansi, National Research Center was established on agroforestry in 1988. The ICRA, International Center for Research in Agroforestry, was established in the year 1978. So, 10 years before, our National forest policy. Our National Research Center at Jhansi were established in the year 1988, exactly 10 years before, in the year 1978. International Center for Research on Agroforestry in Nairobi, that is in Kenya, ICRAF we call it as. The cycle of an agroforestry system is always more than in a cycle. Okay, what is the minimum cycle? In most of the agroforestry, minimum cycle is more than 1 year. The last bit of today's class, very interesting bit. Agroforestry is a form of multiple cropping. Agroforestry is a form of multiple cropping which satisfies at least 3 basic conditions. What are those 3 basic conditions? There should be some woody perennial. Second thing, at least 1 plant species, and that is used for the forages, and so there exists at least 2 plant species that interact biologically. 2 plants should be there. Of them, number 1 is minimum woody plant. The second one is the plant or crop species managed for either forage maybe annual or perennial forage. So these 3 conditions satisfied, we call it as the agroforestry. Thanking you for your very patient hearing of the first class of CORE NRM 1. Thanking you very much.